little noisy here at the train station. I'm on my way to a conference in Philadelphia, and I'm going to be able to stay over and do some sightseeing, and I'm going to take you with me. Here I am at the conference. I'm not going to show you too much of it. Very busy. Okay, I'm in Philly. It's very noisy, so I'm not going to film a lot. Looks like it's threatening to rain. I think it's a 12-block walk from the hotel to the historical area. This is the view of Independence Hall from the Visitor Center.
Well, so this was a steak house from the 1730s up until the Capitol left in 1780. So, construction of this building took a while, 1730s and 40s, so you would see a common usage of it until a little bit after that, probably in the 1740s. But it was the steak house building around that time. The addition of the bell tower on the backside, that was built in the 1750s, so a little bit later. As far as originality is concerned, if you look at the walls and ceilings and things in here, most of what you see above your head, above where you can reach, is going to be original. About 60 to 70% of the interior is original. Exterior, brick-wise, 80 to 90%. When you look in the room, you see a lot of chairs, you see a lot of tables. Almost everything in there is time period, except for the jury boxes. Everything else is the prisoner's dock. Pretty much everything is time period, but probably not in this building during that time period because it was so heavily used during that time period. There's just not a lot of stuff that survived it. The only thing we know that's original is that painting, and that is the seal for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we know that dates back to the 1780s. This room's changed a lot over the years. So this is supposed to be kind of what it would look like during the Declaration. Tried to recreate it as much as we could. We don't know what it looked like. There's some paintings that were made after the fact that we kind of base a lot of this on. But after the Capitol leaves Philadelphia and moves to Lancaster and farther out, this what became a museum space. We're a new nation, we're trying to become, we're not a new nation yet, we're thinking about declaring independence from a new nation. So we have a lot of problems. The war's already really started, right? In 1775 with Lexington and Concord. Before, in 1774, after the Boston Tea Party, there was a sentiment not as much about trying to declare independence, but kind of figure out a way that we could fix the problems that we have with the king. So they actually met in 1774, about a block and a half away here, at a building called Carpenter's Hall, for the first Continental Congress. And they came together, again, putting together olive branch petitions to send to the king and try to fix things. He ignored them. And they did say if we don't get responses, or even if we do, we need to meet back to discuss what we're going to do a year later. In 1775, they met here, they deliberated. Still, a lot of people were much more for the idea of fixing things. We don't want to declare independence because that's a scary thought. I mean, leaving your country, all of your ties, especially, think about the people that were here. Do you think that these were everyday farmers that were meeting in this room? No, these are your businessmen, most of them lawyers, but most of them are merchants and things like that. They're very involved in the economics of our country or our colonies, and they're all fundamentally connected to Great Britain. Mm-hmm. So it's a very scary thought to declare independence. But things just got so bad, especially concerning the court systems, that we're like, something's got to be done. And especially the Massachusetts people who've been pushing, even at the first Continental Congress, for us to declare independence, they start making a lot more sense to a lot of the members of the Second Continental Congress. And it becomes apparent that it's going to happen. We're going to declare independence. We know this is going to happen probably May of 1776. You have states or you have colonies at that time that are starting to lean, that had not leaned in the direction of independence. Think people like places like South Carolina, that is probably the hub of power in the Deep South. They start to say, it's going to happen. And that brings all of the southern states with it. If South Carolina comes, Georgia's going to come, North Carolina's going to come. Virginia is already starting to kind of lean in that direction. When they appoint the Committee of Five to eventually write the Declaration of Independence, who's the one that writes most of it?
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson from Virginia. And they come together, they write up this document. They present it in late June 1776. They do about 70 or 80 changes to the document. Some of them just grammar, even though Jefferson did not like that. But they did a lot of changes. And on July 2nd of 1776, we officially declare independence. Now, does that sound right? It sounds like the fourth,
yes,
right?
Historically.
No, the second is technically when we declare independence. They've approved that document is going to happen. We are going to be a new nation. It wasn't until the 4th that they got all the changes made. And they printed out what we call the Dunlap Broadside. If you go over to the west wing of Independence Hall, you can see the Dunlap Broadside. And that would be the document, the final document written, it's printed on July 4th. We have officially declared independence, but it really happened 2 days prior. John Adams would say that July 2nd would be our Independence Day. It just didn't work out that way. People like to have the finished document, but we had declared independence. Now, before we declared independence, there are some people in here that are like, okay, declaring independence is great, but does that finish it? Can we just say, hey, we're a new nation?
No.
We don't have a government. We have a group of people here talking about independence. They would act as our government for a while. But we really need to have a framework of a government, right? So a guy named John Dickinson writes up, who was a person kind of opposed to the idea of independence for a while, but he sees it coming. He's like, we got to write something up. And he writes up our first government. Anybody know what that one's called? The Articles of Confederation. It's not a very good one.
I'm going to end it here. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was interesting in some way. It was to me. Thanks, and I'll see you next time. Bye.